The SG Child Show is back for its 13th season. Join Sarah Bradford and the SG Child Show team as they explore the world of autism and share stories of hope and inspiration. This season, we're excited to bring you more autism summits featuring experts and advocates from around the world. Go to sgchilds.org.
In the heart of the city, she's shining bright. Oh yeah, stories of love and courage all throughout the night.
Hey everyone, I wanted to take a second to talk to you about the International Autism Summit coming up in April 25th and 26th. It's going to be streaming free from all of my channels. If you haven't already gone to follow me, go to sgchilds.org, click on any of the social media icons, and go follow me so that you can be with us at the International Autism Summit 2025, April 25th and 26th. Can't wait to see you then. Hi, I'm SG Childs. Join me in building a community of inclusion. I'm holding a silent auction where you can bid on unique items and experiences for autism awareness and our International Autism Summit 2025. Every bid helps support autistic individuals and families worldwide. Find out more at sjchilds.betterworld.org. Hello, thank you so much for joining the SJ Child Show today. I promise this will be an engaging, fantastic conversation as always. I have a wonderful guest that I've been waiting to catch up with, and sometimes that anticipation makes those conversations really exciting because you're just like, yes, come on, I want to get to this. I want to learn more about this. Today I have Craig Parks, and he is coming from sunny San Diego. Oh, so lucky. I mean, it's sunny here in Salt Lake City today, so I'm going to get out there later this afternoon and take advantage of that. Craig, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm honored to be with you, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so great, and I love the work that you're doing, and I'm excited of our conversation today to share it with my audience. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what kind of got you started on this journey.
Well, I've always been fascinated by childhood and and working with kids, and my whole adult life, I've pretty much been working with kids. I've created 2 summer camps. I've done teen development. And so I have a lot of experience. I'm also a professional musician who's done a lot of music with kids as well. But then, that moment you become a parent, the whole world changes dramatically. And it's like, whoa, mind and heart blown, right? And my son, who I can't believe it, he turned 21 in last January. It changed my whole life to become a dad. And the journey of it has been interesting because my son is on the autism spectrum. And, when my wife and I were expecting, this was over 21 years ago, it wasn't as prevalent back then. Like, it wasn't in the news. It was, and so it wasn't in our consciousness. We just thought, oh, cool, we're pregnant, we'll have a kid, we'll raise it, we'll have our, we'll have our kids, we'll have our family, it'll be wonderful. And I think it's a little bit of a shock to the system when you're like, oh, whoa, this is going to be a different journey than what we anticipated. And so we ended up, and my son Jonah got his diagnosis very, very early. I mean, he got an at-risk diagnosis when he was around 16 months old. So, we started working with OTs and PTs and ABA and floor time and RDI like very early. So I got to work with a lot of very, very talented and skilled people, and also my own experience of working with and training a lot of people how to work with kids. I ended up, a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I want to have my influence go beyond San Diego. And so I put together a course called Parenting A to E, from Stress to Smiles. And the A stands for affect. And, to get into my son's world when he was young, and, he didn't talk till he was well past the age of 2. So, and when he got diagnosed, I didn't know if I would ever hear my child say, Daddy, or I love you. And I know for a lot of parents, they have kids on the spectrum who are nonverbal, and they don't get to hear that. And these are hard things, and these are real things. But the affect part of it was really huge for me. I realized, oh, there are ways that we can get into our kids' world, and ways that we can really be connected, and they can feel connected to us if we learn to actually master our affect. So our affect actually is the physical manifestations of our emotions. So it's how we actually use our facial expressions, where we actually put our bodies in space, and our vocal affect too. Are we talking softly, loudly? So that when we learn how to actually master and understand how to use our vocal and body affect, it opens up a whole new world of connection and sweetness with our kids. And so I put together this course called A to E, and the E is for effect, the effectiveness we want in connecting in that sweet, loving, trusting relationship with our kids. And so I put together this course, and it teaches affect, how to use your body and your voice. And then also music has been a really, really profound connector for me with all kids I work with, but especially with my son. In fact, before he spoke, he actually sang a melody. My son is an incredible musician. He has perfect pitch, and he's an amazing drummer, and he's also a DJ. So he's got music is where one of his gifts lies. And so there's a whole section on music and songs that take the everyday part of parenting, bedtime, waking kids up, playing with them, like washing hands, all of this kind of stuff that you just do every day, and turns it into memorable connecting events. Because most days of parenting are not taking our kids to Disneyland, right? Most of the days are the everyday slog. So I was really interested in, how do we create that as the joyful, memorable moments? And then there's 10 activities as well in the course that people do. They're screen free and allows for really beautiful connection. So the songs and the activities allow us to actually practice our affect and dive into joyful connection with our kids.
That's incredible. And so many things of your story and mine resonate. The age of diagnosis for both of our sons. My son's name is DJ, and he is musically inclined as well. And so I think that's hilarious. He same kind of, he wasn't speaking till after 4, right around 4. And it was, I wish that I had known about this course, and it probably may or may not have been out by then. Our journey started in about 2010. So it's been quite some time too. And I understand exactly what you're saying, is that there wasn't so much information. I was lucky that my husband had a sister with Down syndrome. And so he had this inner experience with this beautiful part of the special needs community. And he had this just patience about life and his sister and our son, that he taught me so much in that process. And it, just like you, I'm sure my son taught me so much in this process, and really taught me how to see things differently. And it is a shocking experience when you have to redefine those ideas. And, it got me thinking when you had mentioned that where do these, this is way deep for this conversation, but where do these ideas, and where are they bred from in, are they in things we see in media, or the things that churches or our families teach us that, when we have a child, we're going to, play baseball and do all of these other things? Then maybe it's smart that we start to redefine what raising a child looks like, so that when our kids have kids, that their experience is just going into parenting rather than shock or anything like that. I think that is a really interesting topic that might need to be more, more heavily worked on with those smaller kids.
Yeah, I mean, it is a deep conversation, but it's a worthy conversation, because, I think when we come in with expectations, being a parent is a humbling experience. I've never had any job that's been harder, and I've never had any job that's been more rewarding in my own growth. And I think certainly the media, and I think our own childhoods also, inform us. And, it may not be realistic to like be a complete blank slate when you go into parenting, but I think if the goal instead of like, oh, like we're going to play baseball or we're going to do this or that, it's I can't wait to meet this human and discover who they are and learn about them and just come in every day with curiosity. I think and get in the practice of validating their experience so that, we were talking earlier, I think we all just want to be understood, not even always agreed with, but like, oh, I hear where you're coming from. I get you.
Yeah. Just see it for who we are. And not intended. We don't want people to want us to be different. We want to just show up. Oh, that's Sarah. There she is with her whatever, her pale skin from Utah. No, just joking. We're joking. I'm getting excited. But no, we just want to show up and be accepted for who we are, and teaching our kids that that's what is supposed to be the case. It is like a really important thing, but also being realistic as to what's out in the world and getting them ready for that. And, some of our kiddos have, my son doesn't necessarily understand those social problems or situations, as my daughter is straight in the middle of it, right in it, understanding it, confused by it, as we all were. And it's given me a different chance to take the lead, yet follow, if that makes sense. And really just understand, like, okay, I love what you said too. They just you want to show up with curiosity as much as possible. Because I think that is fueled with like a positive energy behind it, with curiosity. And one of our quotes that I love to say is, knowledge turns fear into understanding. And when we allow ourselves to accept the knowledge, it melts those fears away. You're able to see with a new perception. Oh, there's a chance, there's a light, there's options, there's, strategies, there's all of these different therapies I can try, and you really just like make your way. But music is, like you said, such an important and such a universal way to be able to express yourself, receive expressions from someone else. I think it's so beautiful, and it definitely changed the way our son's ability to communicate with us. It was through music the same way. So I love that.
Yeah, it's huge. My son got his first drum set shortly before he turned 3 years old, and he sat at this little kid's drum set, and I couldn't believe. He's like, boom, bah, boom. I'm like, oh wow, that's a beat. My son's playing a beat, and it turned out he just was a phenomenal drummer. And when he was, I don't know, maybe around 14 years old or so, like I said, I'm a professional musician, so I know a lot of musicians. I started this thing with him, and we didn't go all the way, but it's called Parks and Pals, where the concept was to do a number one hit song, cover a number one hit song from 1958 to the modern times. We went up to like 1963, but it's on YouTube. And if you look up Parks and Pals, and you can see my son drumming, and it was just the great thing about music too, especially as I see my son, and look, he's got struggles because of his neurology. There's things that are really hard for him. But when he is playing music, in the moment of actually playing music, and he's playing with other musicians, in that moment, there is no neurotypical, there is no autistic, there's just humans creating energy together. And I could tell, like, his anxiety goes down because he's confident, he feels it. And music is just, it's a magical, magical experience.
It is so magical. I grew up, not as in my voice is my instrument. I was a singer. And so for me, I remember saying to my husband once, there's not often times in your life that you can find yourself in a moment where you feel in perfect harmony with yourself, with the universe, with the people around you, with nature, with everything, with source, with whatever you want to call it. And it's in singing that when I'm just like so deep into that song and I'm right there, just it's that moment that I feel those things, that I just feel like in perfect harmony. And there's not a lot of like, obviously life isn't about perfection. There's nothing perfect about it. But that moment when you're just like locked in and the zone, that it's perfect. I love that moment.
Yeah, and what's great is, so to this day, I still have a band where my son is the drummer in this band, and so I get to rehearse with him once a week. We talk often, and he gets to share all sorts of music that he's into. And I'll tell you this too. You were mentioning earlier, Sarah, that we learn a lot from our kids.
Yeah.
My son has expanded my musical taste a lot. He'll turn me on to all sorts of music that maybe I was either close to or didn't really quite ever got exposed to, or didn't like, and he's like, Dad, check this out. And all of a sudden, like, wow, like my son is teaching me to be more open-minded, and more open-hearted.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely see. I don't know. I'll have to ask DJ like what his kind of music. He listens to classical all day long, every day. It's on a radio on the side of his room.
Wow.
And so that's always going. But he also likes to create music on his computer, on his apps or whatever he's doing. And then my daughter, interestingly enough, being 13, like she would have been my best friend in the 90s. Like we would have been best friends. Excuse me. And I've never, with my oldest, like our music, like we could never get on the same page. There was no music interests in alike. But this one, man, she loves all of my music. She has it on her playlist. We get in the car and I'm like, how are you playing Smashing Pumpkins right now? Like all of these things, she just like lights me up so much. But the same thing, she has her own music interests. She shares her playlist, her Spotify playlist with me, and it has such different types of music that I would have never known about, that then I'm like, oh, I love this, and I've never like had such a better experience to be able to share that with her. And sometimes we'll just go for drives together and turn up the radio to both of our favorite musics and just, roll down the windows and blast it. And it's such a great experience.
Yeah, those memories that she's going to have with you of like being in the car and listening to those tunes. Like when she's older and those same songs come up, it's like she's going to be brought right back to those sweet, happy, joyful moments with you, and
I love it.
And that's what I really wanted to leverage with music. I was like, you know what, if I know that music is one of the most powerful memory makers we have as humans, like I'm going to leverage this. And so, when my son was young, I wrote a lullaby for him. And so every night at bedtime, I would sing this really, really sweet song. And to this day, he knows it, and it's just a very sweet memory. And embedded in the lyrics are often like snuggle, a little kiss on the face there. And it's like, if we parents can use that and ritualistically use music for sweet connection, and that's what these songs in my course do. It's like, yeah, you know what? Waking up can have a song. Washing hands can have a song. So if for any parents, like if you really are conscious about how you're going to use music, you can use it to really, really make a huge difference and have childhood memories that will last forever. I was thinking about like my first grade year. I had a first grade teacher who, and I don't remember all the day-to-day of first grade. Like, I don't know what I did in the classroom, in first grade, but I do have a memory because at the end of every day, she would sing the same song. Goodbye, everybody. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. She'd sing the song, and decades later, like, I still remember this song from when I was 6 years old, because the sweet teacher every day sang the same tune in a ritualistic way. Like, at the end of the day, we ended with this musical sweetness. I'm like, wow, I could do that with my own kids, with all sorts of things. I wrote a song called Dancing on Daddy's Shoulders. That is so fun, that, pop up your little ones up on your shoulders, and this really sweet melody. And so I know that my kids are going to have these really strong, beautiful memories, and we have such joyful experiences associated with music and movement.
It's so important. And yeah, it's like we live like this parallel lives in different places and different experiences. I swear. I always made up songs too. And it probably is because you and I were both just musically inclined throughout our lives. And unfortunately, I never did anything professional with it, but I surely love it. It's one of my favorites. But throughout DJ's life, when he was really young, maybe in the 3 to 5 age, I found these DVDs called Rock and Learn. I don't know if you've ever heard about those. I even ended up, after years later, after DJ had learned more than I could have ever imagined, I reached out to the creator of these and just kind of shared our experience and how they just changed our life and changed the trajectory and enhanced our kiddos' experience by tenfold. Through these, he learned the basically education from preschool to high school. And before he was, 8 years old, he had already mastered like high school math through music and, like all of these incredible things. I mean, he learned the periodic table of elements when he was 4 or 5. And he has a photographic memory. And so we would go places and he would ask people like, how old are you? And they would tell him, and then he would tell them what element they were on the periodic table. I think that the oldest lady we ever found was a little gal in the grocery store, and she was like 92 or 95, so I think that was the highest one he ever got to say. But so fascinating what music can do. And I see that, his little sister sees that as well. And so I can hear her memorizing her states to the music song, or, kind of those things. It's just so powerful. And, I love that you're using it in a space where parents are confused and concerned and unsure of how to really reach their child. And sometimes you just, like you said, the child will actually communicate through the music before even, physically or any verbally. So yeah, it can be such a great tool. What a smart way to put that into something to share with people.
Yeah. And I want to actually offer your audience, a special deal. So if they're interested in the Parenting A to E course, they can write to me at craigparks@parentingharmony.com. And I want this to be accessible to whoever wants it. I know a lot of parents have really, really benefited from this course and from the music and mastering their affect. And, especially in the special needs community, I know there's so many parents struggle, and a lot of parents feel very isolated in their journey. And I know that that's a very, very common experience. I actually have led support groups for parents who have kids with special needs, and you get in a room with other parents who have kids with special needs, and there's this great exhale of like, oh, finally other people who just kind of get it and understand, what I'm going through.
Yeah, definitely. Is that right? Parentingharmony.com?
Yeah, parentingharmony.com.
I think my spelling is correct at the moment. Oh, that's
Thank
great.
you.
I love that. What are you doing? Do you have any plans coming up? Are you working on projects? Kind of what's in the works?
Yeah, well, actually, what I'm working on now. I have a book called "How to Stress Less and Have More Fun with Your Kids."
Oh, that's
Uh,
fun.
yeah, and then I put together this course, which took a lot of years. It's 14 songs, and and these and there's videos and there's all this stuff to put together the course. But I wanted it to be very simple, very easy. Parents could watch like a 3-minute video and be like, "Oh, I can go do that with my kid now," And so the thing I'm working on right now is when the pandemic hit, I started a show with my daughter, who was 5 years old at the time, and called Parks Party Central. It was an interactive live show. It was music and games and activities and just silliness and comedy so that people could come and just have some joy during a very, very difficult time. And I'm going back. We ended up doing 70 episodes, but I'm going back now and looking back at these episodes, because every episode my daughter and I did activities that they were just really silly but super fun activities that parents could do with their kids. So I'm in the process of writing a book called the Parks Party Central Activity Book, so that parents can do these things with their kids. So they'll get to read about what the activities are. They'll be able to click on a link, and it'll be the little clip from the show of my daughter and I doing these really fun, silly activities. So that's something I'm working on right now. I think the world gets transformed when there's more love and connection in it, and the world needs more love and connection. And so that's, I know, like, my gift was not to cure cancer or anything like that. My gift is to work with kids and work with parents. And I'm leaning all the way into it through the music and through my own experience as a coach of parents as well.
I love that. And thank you so much for your work as well, because it is such an important part of, and when people see the value that it can bring to their lives, it's just it's priceless, really. Gosh, I like totally had something, and then
Well, I wanted to thank you too for the work that you're doing, because it is really important that parents who have kids with special needs have a place where they can, again, like, realize they're not alone, and I just think it's a very common experience. As a longtime camp director, I just ended my camp director career just about a year ago, but I directed summer camps for 27 summers, and and there were a lot of kids who came to my camp who were on the spectrum or had special needs. And, we were talking earlier about places where you can go where you can just be yourself and be accepted. And that's one thing that I really prided myself on. My camps, the focus was on creating communities where that could happen. I remember I had one kid on the spectrum who he used to come to camp every day wearing a bow tie and a Home Depot apron. Right. And you can imagine in other spaces, a kid like that would get bullied, would get teased. And one of the things I'm most proud of is to create spaces where a kid like that can come to camp like that and be treated well, with respect, and be celebrated, and so, I want to encourage parents. I know we're going to be coming up on summer months soon, that talk to camp directors. If you're going to send your kids to camp, it's really important that our kids can have spaces where they are celebrated and they're cared for, and there's a culture of kindness.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's what my brain came back into play there. And I wanted to just challenge my audience. I want to challenge the teachers and the after school teacher programs and the coaches and outside of parenting to use this program as well. Why not? Why not be able to reach your students in a new way that would be engaging and fun and creative? So not only for you parents out there listening, but also professionals that, might work with children, or if you, not even the children, I mean, even the young adults and the, autistic adults. I don't think that there's an age that music can't be effective for a person. So 1 to 99, go ahead and give it a try.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think people who are, teachers or even grandparents or anybody who's working with kids will benefit from this a lot. And, one of the songs that I wrote is called Give and Get. And it's I'm also a firm believer in education, and I would often, like at the camp that I used to run, we had a lot of kids on the spectrum, and I'd bring parents in, or we'd even have autistic kids themselves talk about what it's like to be autistic and really educate, so that these kids then they were known, they were seen, and they were cared for. And so if they did behaviors that were a little bit out of the norm, the other campers had an understanding, and they'd be kind about it. But this song, Give and Get, one of the lines in there is that we all have special needs, right? And we all do. Some people need more sleep or less sleep. Some people have peanut allergies. Some people need, have sensory stuff going on. Like, we all have stuff that make us a little bit different, a little bit unique. And when we could dig into that common humanity, I think it makes a big, big difference. But that song is also part of the course too. And it was just great hearing a whole community, singing this song of compassion and understanding.
Isn't that the truth? I'm so grateful for that. And I look forward to going and following all those YouTube channels and everything and checking it out. So I'll be doing that. Please go and do that as well. If you're listening, if you're watching, you can see the website that I just put up, parentingharmony.com. You can go there to get Craig's information, to go see all of his projects and services that he has available. So don't miss out. Make these connections with your kiddos as quickly as you can, because really fostering connections with your child, it's so important. And your child will be so grateful when they're older and they realize that you took the time to form this meaningful connection with them. So please take the time to do that, parents. Craig, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a wonderful, wonderful half hour to spend with you. And I hope we can stay in touch.
I hope so too. Thank you, Sarah. It's been a real pleasure being with you.
Absolutely.
Shining bright, oh yeah, stories of love and courage all throughout the night. Her voice resonating, an anthem for all, through the trials and the trials. She answers the call, a mother and a fighter, breaking barriers in stride. With love as her guide, she'll never hide. She's changing the world for you, with a heart that's fierce and strong. Empathy's a melody. Journey we all belong. Followers gather like stars in the night, so bright. 44,000 voices sharing in the light. She stands for family, advocates for more, a movement of compassion, ways will soar. Podcast together, a symphony of support, creating life, changing rapport. She's changing the world for you, a heart that's fierce and strong, but